There's nothing wrong with your computer monitor. Do not attempt to adjust the picture or reset the modem. We are controlling the broadcast. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring the volume to crescendo. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. We can roll the image and make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next few minutes, sit quietly while we control all you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your monitor. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits of American politics. We were promised a golden age. We got a golden shower of chaos instead. It was November 21st, 2025, when the MAGA cathedral caught fire, and the priests started arguing over who gets to keep arson as a sacrament. Let's start in Rome. Well, Rome, Georgia, by way of the 14th circle of hell that Dante never imagined and Yahweh never mentioned. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the woman who once told us that Nancy Pelosi was running a gazpacho police, who swore Democrats were executing babies after they were born, who stared straight into C-SPAN cameras and warned us about Jewish space lasers starting Californian wildfires, who fucking said we aimed hurricanes like we're Sean Connery in the 1998 film The Avengers. A woman who built an entire political identity on being the loudest, angriest, most loyal soldier in Trump's clown car legion just excommunicated herself from the Fraudican. And she didn't just resign. She detonated like a Moab in a 9-minute video that should come with a burn warning card and a trigger warning for irony poisoning. She sat at a desk looking like a woman who just found out the affair was with the entire movement that she married. And let's start with the greatest hits. And I was spoiled for choice. I have too much self-respect and dignity. This is the woman who live streamed herself harassing Parkland kids. I refuse to be a battered wife. Translation: Donald Trump will spend 8 figures trying to primary me into oblivion, and I finally noticed the bruises and how many times I've fallen. There's no plan to save the world or 40 chess game being played. That's not a resignation line, people. That's a confession that the entire QAnon cinematic universe was a fan fiction all along. And she went scorched earth on the neocons as well. Big pharma, military industrial complex, the donor class, the elite who can never relate to real Americans. Funny, those were her talking points as she fundraised off these very same people. Now they're the villains because they finally turned the hose on her. This is what peak cognitive dissonance looks like when the mirror finally cracks. And the best part? She's leaving on January 5th, just 2 days before the anniversary of the insurrection. The symbolism is so on the nose it should come with a cocaine bump and a participation trophy the size of a Maybach. Now zoom out. On that very same day, because apparently the writer's room up in heaven is on bath salts, Donald Trump invites Zoran Mamdani, the man he spent 2 years calling a jihadist, a terrorist sympathizer, a threat to Western civilization, into the Oval Office for what can only be described as political fellatio. Trump is grinning like a kid who just discovered his bully is now his lab partner. He's gonna be a great mayor. You can call me a fascist, it's no problem. He's not a jihadist. We all say things on the campaign trail. Excuse me while I pick my jaw up off the floor and check it for bullet wounds. This is the same man who told crowds that Mamdani wanted to impose Sharia law on Staten Island. The same man whose surrogates and Stephen Miller told him that Times Square was going to be turned into a caliphate. Now he's doing the verbal equivalent of no homo while complimenting Mamdani's tie. Mamdani, to his eternal credit, just sat there stone-faced, giving nothing, big dick energy so thick you could spread it on toast. Trump looked like a landlord trying to sweet-talk a tenant who just won a massive lawsuit against him. Mamdani didn't even do his normal trademark smile. It was wild. And this is what power recognizes in power. All the jihadist stuff was just red meat for his bigoted base. The real power walked into that room, and the second it did, the script flipped. That's not reconciliation. That's the sound of a con man realizing his mark now holds the better hand. Meanwhile, back in Georgia's 14th, a district that went plus 38 for Trump, a seat that hasn't elected a Democrat since the Civil War was still on the undercard, is about to be vacant. Special election, no incumbents, national spotlight. Democrats are already doing the math like it's the last lifeboat on the Titanic. And the House Republican majority, it's 3 seats, just 3 seats. That's not a majority, that's a drunken game of Jenga being played on a fault line. One more defection, one more scandal, one more green style implosion, and Speaker Mike Johnson is presiding over a daycare that has lost its nap time. This is what happens when loyalty is a one-way street, and the toll finally comes due. This is what happens when you build a movement on personal fealty instead of ideas. The second the king stops returning your text, the whole thing collapses like a house of cards made out of rage and hydroxychloroquine. And let's not kid ourselves. Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't disappearing. She's a multimillionaire with a martyr complex and a mailing list the size of a small country. She's going to monetize this betrayal harder than she ever monetized the big lie. Give it 6 months and she'll be on Newsmax with a new show called Stabbed in the Back by the Deep State Swamp I Once Worked For. But that Monday after her Friday night bombshell, that Monday the mask didn't just slip, it melted. And underneath was just a bunch of scared, petty, transactional, theocratic men who never actually believed their own fairy tales once the dragon started to breathe real fire back at them. We're through the looking glass, people. The Mad Hatter was groveling, the Queen of Hearts was rage quitting, the White Rabbit was checking his watch because even he knew the Tea Party's over. This isn't the end of MAGA. This is the beginning of the end, and all that entails. The cult is cracking. The congregation is noticing the pastor's Ferrari. The loudest apostle just nailed her own 35 theses to Mar-a-Lago's door and lit them on fire. Hold on to something, America. The ride just got interesting. And if you thought this was weird, wait until you see what happens when the rest of them realize that the emperor not only has no clothes, he's been charging them a subscription fee to look at his dick pics. December 10th, 3 weeks on, and the fire is still spreading. The people who swore they were fireproof are running around like their sleeves are smoking. Start with what happened in the Tennessee 7th, a district that Trump carried by 22 points last November, a seat that hasn't sent a Democrat to Washington since the Clinton administration. Republicans dropped more than $6 million on Matt Van Epps, Trump endorsed, MAGA backed, the whole red meat package. Trump himself called in, posted, boosted, put his thumb on the scale so hard that the scale filed for an HR complaint. And the result? Van Epps wins by 54%. He wins by 9 points. That's a 13-point collapse in 12 months in a place that was engineered to be bulletproof. Afton Bain, a 30-something progressive running on grocery prices and affordable daycare, came within 4,000 votes of flipping the thing entirely. Rural counties that were crimson by 30 barely went crimson by 12 this time. That's not noise. That's the base walking away in real time. The GOP majority is 3 seats. 3. They just spent a fortune to barely hold on to a seat that they used to win in a coma. And the map for 2026 in Texas looks okay, but overall looks like a crime scene. Meanwhile, the exits keep on coming. Troy Nehls announced last week that he's done after this term. Too many fights with Washington, too many death threats, too much Epstein fallout. Nancy Mace spent a recent weekend on the phone with Green's people and will only give a PR answer when questioned about it that answers nothing in so many words. Victoria Spartz is telling reporters the conference has lost its soul. 23 Republicans have already said that they're not running again. That's more than double what the Democrats' number is. Some are retiring quietly. Some are screaming on the way out the door, but they're all leaving. Green herself is still everywhere. Podcast, Newsmax, hits, raising money off the betrayal faster than she ever did off the big lie, just like I said she would. The Epstein files she helped force open are dribbling out names, and every new page lands another log on the bonfire. It reminds me of bygone days when many of us were screaming about the attacks on democracy and the Brooks Brothers riots and the shifting allegiance of the Democratic Party from the unions and the farmers to the corporations and the billionaires. Oh, those were the days. You called us alarmists. But now, the cathedral isn't burning for MAGA yet, but the stained glass windows are cracking. The pews are emptying and the collection plates are coming back lighter than anyone cares to admit. They don't, but please do not let this small snippets of hope fool you. We still have so much work to do. Lots of work to do. Hold on to something because the ride didn't just get interesting, it got honest.
Hi, I'm Jack, and come back to us next time on FOFANews and follow us on Substack and click the little bell down below. It helps a small channel like us out immensely. Thank you for coming.